What is wrong? Put your finger on the biggest issue right now affecting the Boston Celtics and why they have been mediocre.
The biggest issue is a lack of talent around Jayson, Tatum, and Jalen Brown. And those guys have been spectacular most of the season. Obviously, they've been in and out of the lineup too. This is an injured lineup. The top 4 guys that they've basically built everything around now have played together for 28 minutes all season. And yeah, you look around the league and COVID has been something that teams have had to deal with. Injuries have been something that teams have had to deal with. This Celtics team is not built to survive and thrive when some of their best players are injured. They just don't have that type of depth. You look at the 2 signings they made after Gordon Hayward left. Tristian Thompson has looked like a piece that they don't really need because Robert Williams has emerged and Daniel Theis has been solid. Yep. And Jeff Teague has given them nothing. And
looks
so
old. He just looks old, Jay. He looks old.
Yeah. So the 2 guys that they signed in wake of Hayward haven't helped at all. They've been very fortunate that Peyton Pritchard has been good. He's one of their only bench guys who's given them anything. And so I just think when you look at that roster, there's not much shooting, there's not much playmaking around Tatum and Brown, and they just have to do a lot of everything. And then I think silently, one of their killers has been they don't have the defensive versatility that they've kind of had so much of in spades the last few years. They lost a lot of that. Their bench is now point guards and centers, and it's tough to win in the modern NBA when you can't do as much switching as you want to, and you don't have the pieces that are long and athletic that most teams need to have.
Yeah, the injury thing, obviously you can't look for sympathy because, quote, everybody has and understand that. But I've just decided that to lay back and say, they're not whole. You made that point, 28 minutes with the group,
Yeah.
That group, and because we don't know how good, we still, it's very uncertain as to what Kemba will ever be again.
Right? Yeah, I didn't even mention that. That's
very uncertain, so that scares you. All the assumptions about were based on the most optimistic projection of availability of their supposedly good players, and Kemba hasn't given them very much at all. And now we're going on 3 weeks with an uncertain date return for Marcus Smart. And by the way, if anybody doubted his importance to this team, I hope that they've revised their opinion.
Bob is the president of the Marcus Smart fan club.
Yeah,
if you didn't know that yet.
I'm the chief defender of the defender.
Mr. Winning Plays.
Yeah. I understand the ire of people. I'm watching the Twitter. I see it. I'm here. I understand the ire. I'm not one of those people because I'm trying to be realistic about what their components are. It's a word I like to use, and you've identified it very well. They don't have the components that we thought they were going to have, or that they need to be much better, much better than they are. Every once in a while, you're going to have a night like Ojale pops out of the sky, drops in the big game that night, you win a game against a team missing a lot of players, by the way, right? Denver was depleted. Yep. So, you have to put a little asterisk on that one. I'm not upset. I'm disappointed. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan still. That's all I am now. I'm a fan, but I'm not angry because I'm giving them some outs here. I didn't anticipate that Teague would be so useless. I thought that was a good pickup, And you're right, there, but for Pritchard, oh my God, because and there's a little bit of a glimmer. Before the year is over, I'm going to just shout it like that Nesmith will be of a consistently useful, he'll be consistently useful. He's starting, how about the fact that his first initial value was turned out to be on the defensive end rather than the offensive end? Who saw that?
That's a stunner.
Who saw that coming? But all right, anyway, no, I think you identified it very well. You mentioned one other guy I'm intrigued with, and that is Robert Williams. I'm wondering what the ceiling is. Because, boy, there was some wonderful athleticism there. Adam Himmelsbach had a funny tweet during the course of the game last night. If they could just throw the ball that lobs to him all night, the world would be great, But he has, look, you can see what they saw in him, right, Jay?
Absolutely. Yeah,
You
and
definitely see this on him.
he's a guy that his ceiling, like you said, is so high. And I think if he can reach that more regularly, it's a big deal. I think the reason why they haven't committed to giving him more minutes, and probably the reason why they felt compelled to go after Tristian Thompson, is he just makes those mistakes. And you see it defensively, he'll be in the wrong place. Sometimes he'll catch a rebound and just throw an outlet pass to the wrong team. And I imagine as a coaching staff, that's very frustrating. But they know they need to coax him along. I'm honestly interested to see whether at the trade deadline they think about moving Tristian Thompson and think about using his contract in a trade, because to me they obviously need wings. They need shooting.
Right.
They need help there, and you don't need a third center. Like
No.
You said it. You said it best.
Robert,
he duplicates what they have. There's no reason, Tristian Thompson doesn't give them anything they don't already have with Theis. You can't play Theis and Tristian together. It doesn't work in today's NBA.
Yeah, I think when you look back at the offseason, I think it was fair for the Celtics to think they needed another center.
Sure.
And because Robert Williams, he was hurt most of last season. The hip issue has been one that stayed with him. He's even missed a couple games with it this season. And so you wonder about his availability. You wonder if he's ready to play playoff minutes, which is what I'm sure they were concerned about and why they went after Thompson. And then the other thing, by the time Hayward left, there weren't many wings to go after. And so I think the trade exception is going to be huge for them. And then Kemba is going to be huge for them. Can he get back to at least what he was during the regular season last year? If he can do that, their offense is going to be very tough to stop. If they get that Kemba and get one shooter, scorer, whatever on the trade market, but until and unless that happens, this is going to be a team that struggles to score sometimes, and that just doesn't have, I think, the athleticism and versatility that they need.
Yeah, I just don't. I think they miss Hayward, and I wouldn't have paid him $30 million a year for 4 years. No way in hell. But they miss his ability to move the basketball. That's the problem. Like Tatum, and I love Tatum, and I actually think he's a really good passer. But like Tatum and Jalen aren't ball movers in the sense of the word. They're looking to score every time they get the basketball. They're not making life easier consistently for other guys. Gordon Hayward, he just moved the ball. He made life easier for Tatum and Jalen, and even like a Kemba now when he was on the court. And they don't have anybody like that. Kemba's still a scoring point guard. Tatum is a scorer first. Jaylen Brown is a scorer first. So I feel like that's kind of what they're missing on this team as much as anything. Yeah, they need shooters. They definitely need shooters. But they need guys that move the basketball and get easy shots, uncontested. Too many guys, they're always taking contested shots every time I watch them.
Yeah, and that was something, they've come a long way. Tatum and Brown have developed a lot in that regard, but they need somebody to set them up, and they need somebody to make things easier for them. I think you saw it to some extent with even the Clippers last year with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, where they didn't have a point guard to organize them. They didn't have a point guard to set things up. And I think that really hurt the Clippers last year. You see a similar thing with the Celtics this season, is that those two guys, they're fantastic for themselves. And yes, they can occasionally rack up 7-8 assists. They're not great playmakers yet. And that's why I think Hayward leaving was a huge, huge deal.
Yep.
And Marcus Smart being out, everyone notices the defense. He's the top assist guy on the team.
He's the best passer on the team.
The way he can run a pick and roll and find open guys and kind of command that offense is something that they really miss without him, especially the way Kemba has played, where Kemba hasn't been efficient. Kemba hasn't really been able to score inside the three-point arc, which is new for him and obviously a concerning sign about how his knee is looking.